We are live on YouTube. Oh, my bad. Forgot I had celery in my ear. Okay, let's get right to the point here. We can't mess around tonight. Episode 5. This is the Exercise, Science, and Culture show. I'm Matt Hines. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about exercise planning, including therapeutic exercises, and then also I'm going to talk to you about body image. Okay? Exercise planning. I have 6 steps for you. 6 things to think about. Number 1, you got to write it out. You write it down and you got to print it out. Hold yourself accountable. Have an actual plan. I challenge you to do this. I challenge you to have a plan written out. I know how easy it is, and even somebody like myself who is addicted to exercise and I really want to make progress, I sometimes fall away from having a plan and having organization with my training. And sometimes you can do that. But also I think there's really a benefit to having a plan written out. Write it down and print it out. Number 2, schedule conservatively and be flexible. So this is a point I've been reiterating. Your plan should be very attainable. The SMART goal process with a capital A, attainability. Just be reasonable. Don't say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week, 2 hours a day. You don't need to be, we don't need to do the whole gung-ho thing. We're going to get a little bit fitter and we're going to be consistent about it. We're going to make this a lifestyle. Okay. We're trying to make this a lifestyle, not fad. Okay. So you got to be conservative. And with the flexibility bit, understand that you may go away for weekends. There might be some days that it's tough. You have to stay late for work. Kid gets sick, whatever it may be. Build in flexibility. And I want to share with you an approach that I found works for me. Now, there's two ways to do your planning, both of which can work in different cases for different people. So you can do okay, on Monday, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do squats and I'm going to do bench pressing. On Wednesday, I'm going to go for a run with my significant other. And on Friday, I'm going to take Zumba class. That's a really good plan. That's a great plan. And if you can stick pretty much to that plan, that's awesome. For me, it doesn't quite work that way. I've not had that much success being that strict like that. What I do is I write out some routines. So I have my plan, which I'm going to share on this group, so you can check that out. But basically what I have on here is 8 different little routines. And my goal is, over this 12 weeks, I want to do each of these routines about 10 times. If I can do that, then I'll call it a success. And it may be that if I think the first week I'm really gung-ho, so I might go through everything plus 2 or 3 cycles, 2 or 3. I might go get a head start is what I'm trying to say, because I actually know that in the middle of this, I've got a few busy weekends and busy weeks, and I'm not going to be able to work out as much. So I'm going to try to front load and get ahead. And then from there, I can just coast to the finish line, and I don't necessarily have to follow a weekly plan. It's more like quotas. Okay. So I check something off the box, and that's another way to approach this. All right. Number 3, choose things that are fun. Choose things that are convenient, that are available to you. Okay, so if you have a backyard and you need to do some yard work, then plan for that to be part of your physical activity. And if you know of a friend who's been raving about this yoga class, well, plan to go with her. You know you want to. You know in the back of your mind, you're thinking, man, I should do it. I should do it. I don't know about it, but I should do it. You should do it. Go take that class. You're a soccer player. You used to play soccer and you haven't done it in a few years. And you know there's a league that's like right across the street from your house at the local community center. Join the league. Commit to your Wednesday nights are going to be a little bit tougher. You might have to eat out on that night, but join the league. You won't regret it. You really won't regret it. And then also count your chores that you do around the house. Those can add up too. That can be really a great part of your physical fitness regimen. So number 4, do the right amount. So it's very easy for somebody who's starting one of these challenges and they're like, all right, I'm going to do it. Now is the time. And they go into the gym and then, they start that 6 days a week routine, 2 hours a day. And maybe you can do that for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but you're going to burn out real quick because you went from 0 to 100. It just doesn't work. More often than not, it doesn't work that way. You got to think of this in the long term. And the big problem, it's psychological with the burnout, but it's also physiological, and your likelihood of injury will be much higher if you go from 0 to 100, or maybe you're already fit, but you start something new. And if you just like go crazy full board into it, all of a sudden you might make it out okay, but you're just know that your likelihood of injury when doing it that way will be much higher. Doing too much, too soon, or too often, that's the recipe for injury. So just know that. And also on the other end, you just want to mind the principle of progressive overload. Okay. So if you haven't been running much lately, you don't going right out and doing a 6-mile run the first day. Well, why don't we start with 1 or 2? And then next week you can progress, try 3 or 4. Steadily you are growing. And also I'm such a huge proponent of waved training. I think if there was a general awareness for how to apply waved training, even for somebody who's just going for general fitness and not necessarily doing like a high intensity styles of workout, still, if you can mind the waved training principle, it's hugely beneficial. There's a couple different ways to apply this, and a couple of different ways to apply this. So you can apply this to the amount of resistance that you're doing on any particular exercise. So we'll say you're doing overhead pressing exercise. So you can start with just 5 pounds on the first week. Then you can maybe go up to 10 pounds the second week. Then maybe you go up to 15 pounds the third week, but then drop back down on the fourth week. Just go back down to the 5 pounders, maybe the 7.5 pounders. Okay. But then you'll be able to build back up. And the idea is it looks like a wave. And better yet, if it's a progressively higher wave as you go across time. And you can apply this to the amount of workouts that you're doing in any given period of time. So if you haven't really been working out much, plan to go to the gym 10 times this month. And then maybe on the next month, try going 12 times. And then on the third month, go 14 times. And then maybe on the fourth month, give yourself a break and just go back down to like 11 workouts in that month. Okay? You see the picture, and you can apply that. Take any factor, intensity, frequency, time, duration, any of those workout factors, you can apply the waved principle to. Okay, number 5, choose appropriate activities. So nothing that's too hard or too easy. And the physical assessment will give you some idea for where this is, for where you are on any given movement. So if you had trouble with the assisted squat exercise, then please don't go into a class where you're going to have to do a lot of repetitions of body weight squats or goblet squats. Take the time to learn how to do the lower level of the exercise and get really good at that before progressing. If you are, I actually talked to 2 of my clients who were moving. They had moved in the last couple of months, and they were so sore afterwards. And one of them had to cancel a session, in fact, because their shoulder was so sore. And moving is a perfect example of where you go like 0 to 100. And it's by my measure of like what is appropriate. Well, that it would be inappropriate for you to go from maybe working out once a week to then all of a sudden moving your whole house, where you're doing like interval resistance training essentially for 4 hours in that one day. That's going to be a tough situation. But that's also incentive for you to be prepared for that at any given time. That's why regular exercise is so beneficial. So choose appropriate activities. And then lastly, number 6 for the exercise planning is include therapeutic exercises. So this is a great segue into my next topic, which is including the therapeutic exercises. I attached a document today that is the it's called the Therapeutic Exercise Prescription Guidelines. And this is based on the General Population Activities of Daily Living test. That's the physical assessment that I have as part of this 12-week challenge. Okay. So I highly encourage you to go through that. Take pictures of yourself going through these movements. And I've already talked about the movements. I've already talked about, so for instance, on the squat, the question is, can you lower your hips to or below the knees while keeping the heels down, knees in line with the heels, and spine in a neutral position? Yes, almost, no, or this movement causes pain. So I already talked about what generally to do if you pass the test, and generally what to do if you didn't pass the test, or if you felt pain, including if you feel pain in that movement. But what particularly should you do? Well, that is explained in this document. I'm not going to go over all of these. You can check it out, but here's basically what's going on. And I'm going to read off of the body weight squat one. So with the body weight squat, if you're almost there or you're not there with the body weight squat, it's probably due to one of the following limiting factors. And there are 7 limiting factors listed, including insufficient hip hinge, insufficient knee bend. Are your heels lifting when you squat? Do you have valgus knee collapse when you squat? Do you lose the neutral spine when you squat? Well, for all of those particular ways, all of those particular limiting factors, I have written out a few exercises that I would recommend that you do. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. This is not set in stone. It's just a general, it's giving you an idea. I think for most people, these exercises, so let's say your heels are lifting off. You can't squat without your heels lifting, and you're just having a really hard time with that. Well, try the following. Try the ankle wall stretch, because the chances are that your ankles are quite tight. So you need to regularly be stretching out those ankles and trying to increase your mobility at the ankle. You can also go down in the level of the exercise. So you're not ready for the body weight squat quite yet, but you should definitely keep working on squatting, but do assisted squatting. Do where you're going to hold on to like a TRX machine, or even holding onto a post with your arms to take some of the weight off of your legs. You could also, another scaled down version of a squat is like a bench squat. So you can imagine this is my bench, and I just go down until I touch the bench, and then I come back up, and I want to set that to a height right before the heels start to come up, or maybe a little bit lower than that, so I start to challenge my depth of my squat. And then another exercise are toe lifts. Okay, so I stand and I lift my toe. I lift my toe and I'm flexing my shin muscle. I got to strengthen that shin muscle. That's part of the equation. And then lastly, massaging the or soft tissue release modalities for the feet and the lower leg. So watch my previous video where I talk all about soft tissue release. Okay, so that's the idea. And then I go for the same thing with pain points. So with the squat, people will most often, if they do feel pain, they feel it in the knee, the lower back, the hip, the ankle, the hamstring, or the quad. For each of those parts, I have listed a few exercises that you can include into your routine. So I'm excited to have that out because I think this is a pretty cool tool, and I'm pumped to start to put it into practice. And you guys are the rats in the wheel. Okay. I'm testing it on you guys. Please participate in science and give this a shot and give me some feedback. All right. Last thing I want to talk about today. And before I do that, let me say hello to Diane Decker. Let me say hello to my mother, David Corona, and Rick Mercurio. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you're enjoying the show. So now I want to get into culture, the culture aspect of the show. I want to talk about body image. And man, do I have a lot to say about body image, and do I think our culture is super wacky around this, and we just have so much room to grow. I just did a little podcast on hypertrophy, which is muscle growth. And this was in response to a couple of my former student athletes, male student athletes, who are really interested in hypertrophy, muscular growth. They want to get big. They want to put on some size. So this is mostly for them. And what I just want to convey with that is, well, you can listen to the podcast, but first I need help uploading voice memos from the iPhone onto Facebook. If anybody can help me with that or refer me to somebody who can help me with that, I would be greatly appreciative. So that's the male. And generally what I'm talking about on there is that you don't, both for males, females, everybody in between, don't let Shape Magazine, don't let Men's Fitness, don't let these stereotypes of what masculinity and femininity are supposed to mean or used to mean in regard to fitness. Because there's a lot of bullshit that is in the minds of us all. I can say for myself, so much of my younger years, I mean, I'm really grateful. I don't think I really had a huge issue with it, with body image, but still, I'm a smaller guy. So it was always for me like, oh man, I need to eat more protein. I need to get bigger. I need to hit the weights harder because, otherwise girls aren't going to like me. I'm too small. And that was only because of that's just our culture. And it wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful at all. On the other end, I want to share a quick story about a former client of mine. And I've actually had several clients who are in this situation. These are females who, look, if you saw them on the street, you would say, oh, that's a fat girl. She's overweight. She's unhealthy. But these people were not unhealthy. These people were very fit, very impressive athletes. The one young lady in particular, she was a former college track and field thrower. And I don't want to give away too many details. She's not on here. I haven't touched base with her in years. So but so she was like 5'11", probably like 215. she's a big girl. She was a very strong girl, and she was a very fit girl. She could do the rower like you've never seen. And her just raw strength, we had to work on her body mechanics quite a bit, but her raw strength was very impressive. I wouldn't say for her that her body composition was the biggest problem. I wouldn't say that her aerobic capacity was the limiting factor. It was actually her body mechanics. That was the biggest thing that we were working on. Okay, so next time you see somebody like that on the street, think twice, because you really don't know. And I'm so sick of the hate that girls like that get. And they get it in their head like, oh, I need to get down to like she was probably thinking she needed to get down to 175. And that's what she came to me saying, like, she had a weight loss goal. And after not that long of a time, it became pretty clear to me that you don't need to lose weight. You are in really good shape. You just need to work on this and enjoy your body. Enjoy what you can do, because you can do amazing things. So what I want to see around this is I just want to see a change. Less guilt and shame, more inclusion, more education, more participation. Because we can just be, rise up together around this, and we can all be a lot happier. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much also to Mara for joining in. And I will touch base with you guys, I don't know, Thursday or Friday, I'll do another show. So have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.